one property line, it sets precedent for the people next door. Each project should be judged on its own merit.
But if it comes
We're
down
setting
to
a
a lawsuit,
precedence though, right?
I don't believe it's setting a precedent. I really don't. That's me.
We're not the lawyer.
Yeah, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know if you knew that.
I do,
I don't want,
not yet anyway.
I don't want to be a lawyer.
I'm not either.
Has the
Okay.
property lines been moved and adjusted in the past?
I think there was a property line on North Street. Not North Street.
And the gym you just did.
What's that?
Well, I think they're still thinking about it.
Oh, I thought that was over.
I think they're still doing that.
And also, Leo, wasn't that a lot, property line change and everything? I thought there's been numerous.
Yeah, I think each project carries its
It's
own
on the
merit.
project, not the village.
Right, but this project, we know who was representing, we know who's owning. So
Do you?
that, well, what's in the paperwork, I mean, I know what I'm reading, that's all that I have.
If it was a different applicant, for the same line.
What's the
Sorry?
difference, who owns the project?
Yeah.
Well, I think no matter, it depends because what's being built on it, that's what it is. Do we want these, just like did we want what was going to be, what was being proposed on with the CED? We didn't, right? For many reasons, because of most of it was the impact on it, what it would have. So apartments with multi-dwellings and how many residents per dwelling is going to have a big impact on traffic, water, I'll say schools, and so on. And that's why we had to have impact studies done back in '98 with that project.
And that's happened also like on High Grove.
So when
I
you
live on
say,
Bull
would
Road
it
now.
matter?
There's so much traffic coming down from Bull. And then when they build, if they're gonna build up on Shaw, which is out of our village and out of our town, that's gonna impact Bull Road also, the traffic. So
Right.
there's always gonna be,
Right, but not to the degree that it would. Look at, anyone, I live right there. I have to deal with that. I won't even go that way in the morning to work. I go down Moffett to avoid that intersection. It's bad enough right now. So when you asked, would I object to a property line being removed if it was for something else? I'm being truthful when I say it depends, because like if it was an art gallery, we're not gonna have that kind of an impact, right? We won't, so when you're talking about apartments, and 28 of them, and how many could reside in each apartment, or two bedrooms each, right? There's no stipulation on how many residents can reside in one apartment.
actually there is
2 per bedroom.
Okay, well,
size.
even if that were the case, you have this senior housing, if there's 5 people in a 1 bedroom, nobody's gonna knock on a door, right? We're not gonna do that. So yes, it would greatly impact, I'm not bringing up anything other than the dwelling itself. Not who's occupying it, but how many units and the impact that it will have.
I don't know if an impact study has been completed. I know a traffic study was completed.
Yes.
When,
He actually said takes.
Yeah,
It was stated in
Yeah.
the meeting.
well, they're
Was
still
it
working,
during
it
the
hasn't been
COVID?
formalized
When
yet.
people run out?
Was that?
That was.
Was it during COVID, when people aren't really,
well, it'd have to be, right? Because that's when
But-
it started to now.
As per the state, they bumped it up the numbers they actually had because of the COVID figures. So let's say the COVID number was 12, the state said you had to multiply by like 1.5. So then they used 16. It was all explained, at least I heard that.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else heard that.
I mean,
That was not the meeting.
I have all the confidence in the planning and zoning. I hope the residents and the attorneys, as well as this board, I hope that the residents understand that. I like to, I understand what you're saying back in, what year was that?
98.
We're not thinking that way. Okay? None of the boards are thinking that way. I don't know what really took place behind those closed doors. okay? But something tells me it's been going on since George Washington came through here. He wanted to make a left at the light, all right, but he kept going straight. I don't know.
I
Okay,
do.
but I think the residents, great questions the other night. I think of all the comments, you might come up with 5 questions, okay?
Everybody had the same concerns.
All
Which
right,
makes
I
sense.
think
For the most part.
one of the concerns was guest parking. Wow,
There is none.
okay? But I guess you ask for everything, okay, like in negotiation, you know, you want a 10% pay increase, but you'll settle for 2. You know?
Right, but we brought up some other points here now that are in the zoning, but, you know, part of the zoning. And
But that's why they're up in front of the boards, okay? Eventually, we'll come to this board when it comes to colors,
If it gets
all right?
approved.
If it gets approved again,
Yeah.
okay? Nothing is done, you know, so
Oh, no, I
when
understand.
people were on, you know, becoming the warriors, that this thing's already completed,
I think
I don't think so.
it was just from speaking with people afterwards, I think it was the feeling in the room. The feeling was that the residents felt that I understand, everybody, it was high tension, I get that. The planning board couldn't answer certain things. But I think the residents felt that they had already made minds up. That's the feedback that I got after speaking with people afterwards. I'm not saying that was the case, I'm just
I think
saying
that's how it was perceived online.
that's how it was
I saw the
perceived.
conversations online, and I think there was a lot of misinformation, that there was gonna be a vote that night, which there wasn't. So
It's so
and
far
it's
from the goal.
understandable where people, you know, get
Yeah.
worried.
And it goes back to what I said before, people feel like they were gonna ask a question and get answers, that's not what that
Ask
was
a
for.
question.
That's
Yeah.
not what
They
it
were
was for.
collecting to come back.
But all those questions that were asked, if they're not answered, I think we're gonna take, you know, there's a problem there, all right? We want answers, we want the same answers that were brought up the other night, okay? We don't meet with the planning or the zoning board, okay? There's no conversations between boards, you know, let's get all 3 boards in here and start talking about this, that's not what happens, all right? But it was, the perception is that night, or leading up to that night, was, yeah, this thing's already done, tonight they're going to seal it, and, you know, it's a done deal. Do you know that the buildings are set back 40 feet from the street?
Did I know?
Yeah,
No, I
no.
didn't.
It was never mentioned the other night,
And there's gonna be a little parking.
and there's a parking front of
Well, according to the zoning, there has to be landscaping. And if they have to remove trees for a new building, they have to replace. And then there also has to be a barrier between the parking, even with the parking in the rear of
it.
the,
But this is set
of the
back
building.
40 feet. It was never brought up the other night. It might have been brought up during one of the meetings, I don't know.
It was.
Okay.
It's on the site plan.
What's that?
It's on the site plan.
Yeah, but the other night, there were no site plans. It was just a floor plan and perspective.
So moving forward then, the next planning board meeting in August,
Well, there's one on the 28th.
I understand,
But they're not
right,
on the agenda.
right.
Oh, they're not on the agenda,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
The August meeting, is that when we should be getting some answers?
I think that's what they said.
I would be very upset if we didn't have answers. We're all residents in here. Everyone in here is a resident of the village.
And I believe that's the date the attorney
Yeah.
said.
And come back.
You know, nothing is being hidden from anyone. Trust me on that.
Is there any discussions about moving it to another location because of the people
I
who
think
were
there
out?
was that night.
Yeah, we
I
talked
think
about
there
it,
was
but I don't know if there was
some,
a decision.
I'm going to leave that up to the attorneys. All right? You know, when we used the parking lot for the high school to mobilize for the Memorial Day Parade, they charged us $25. I can't imagine what the auditorium goes for.
Wow.
Good luck.
Oh, come on.
No, seriously.
All right?
Maybe we should just use one of our parks.
Maybe we should just.
Yeah.
We'll just hang out there.
You know,
Well, we have somebody here from the library, maybe we can use the library.
Who's from the library?
This room is probably larger than the library.
Our meeting room is probably almost this big,
Here, so that's,
because we have a small meeting room and then we have a larger
yeah.
room.
So, really, one of the schools, like I said,
Got paid.
$25 for the parking lot.
Knights of Columbus.
What's that?
Knights of Columbus.
Possibly. You know, I don't think there's, I don't know if there's a,
I think that
what do we have to do to move the meeting? I don't know, but we have time to figure that out. If August, that's when the meeting, that's when the meeting's
A month,
going
they
to
said
be.
a month, yeah.
Yeah.
If they come back before the planning board, by then they may not.
And, right, they might not, they might postpone it.
The August meeting?
No, not the
The
planning board.
applicant.
Oh,
The
right,
developer might postpone.
right. You're talking about the August meeting, right?
Yes.
They have the petition to go before the board again.
What was that?
Is the applicant has to request to be seen again by the planning board. If they don't request it in August, then it's not gonna happen.
And then I think they were talking about sending it back to the zoning board, correct? I heard that comment.
I don't think anybody's declared lead agency yet.
Yes, the planning board is.
Declared lead agency,
I was
so they
involved.
have to do the referral to the ZBA. They haven't done that yet.
Right. So it's a while, you know, before this is actually going to,
Come to fruition.
something's gonna be there. We know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
well,
You know, their
Something should be
original,
there.
original proposal was residential and offices, I believe. Okay?
August
And
what?
residents and offices.
Office on the bottom, residents on top.
That's what we expected. That's what it's been.
This is, I think this benefits the village more than the first proposal.
All
Do
residential.
we need more
Residential.
office or commercial space, or do we need residential space? I know a lot of people looking for apartments, I see it on Facebook all the time.
Got a lot of empty offices here.
You want more empty space?
No.
You don't have to answer,
Don't answer.
we're not putting you on the spot.
Can my daughter rent there if she wanted to?
Anybody.
Anyone?
Why not?
Call yourself low income, you have to get approval from the state of New York. So they can't restrict applications without getting state
Right,
approval.
was fair housing, right, is that term, fair housing?
Yeah, well, to get yourself designated, like the Hub 1 and Hub 2, you have to, that requires a state approval process, so you can advertise and call yourself that. It's
Yeah.
also very strict about how the apartments are designed and stuff like that to be ADA compliant.
Right. You know, no one wanted Orange County Bagel.
I remember that
No one
meeting.
wanted it.
Yep, they were up
Orange
in
County
arms
Bagel,
right in this
right?
meeting,
They wanted,
right in
why?
this room.
I don't know why.
They didn't want Betty.
They didn't
to
want,
that.
yeah, they
Oh,
did not
oh,
want.
well, that, I understand that.
But Betty's
Why?
wasn't selling bagels.
Right.
Those are the same people who
And
got
they
my
decided-
bagels this morning.
He decided not to build here.
I think they're open, I saw chairs and stuff outside.
Then that, it's probably gonna be about 10 days.
Yeah, it's coming.
Okay.
I was,
I didn't know if they were doing a soft open.
I don't know, I hope so.
Hope you let us know.
I actually don't like their bagels, so you're going on the wrong tree.
Well, that's okay.
But that's a preference.
Yeah, but no one wanted it. No one wanted anything but was there. And the building adds character, okay, to the village of Washington.
agreed.
Listen, nobody wanted the Dunkin'
And-
Donuts.
The only thing that this board did was, I think you should use these colors. So was the planning board and zoning board doing what they're supposed to be doing. That's what happened. But people didn't want it. I have a list of people
That's
who
not
didn't
gonna
want it.
bring nearly the
So if I
amount
see
of
them in
impact.
there having a bagel, I'm gonna say,
We
you
need
didn't want
apartments
this.
in the middle of the village. I mean, that's beneficial. There's, the schools are right there. All the teachers, the students, it's not gonna impact like 20 apartment buildings would, where they're
It's
going.
two separate projects, but what I'm saying is, you have to have confidence in the system that's now in place. Okay.
You know, I love you, Joe.
Attend meetings.
But the decision about the Facebook too, I've noticed people were assuming certain things in why the board is no longer, or the village is no longer posting meetings on social media.
Never should have in the first
We
place.
have a friend.
Right, but the timing, you understand the
Of course,
timing?
the timing, but when, you know, when are
You
you
know
gonna
what?
do it? It's-
Wait, you know what also wasn't good timing? The raising of the water rates.
Raising of the,
Water rates. That wasn't good
Oh.
timing either.
Everything else
All
went
right.
up.
Since when is government concerned about timing?
no, but it's the
We understand
pullback
how
and
it's
that they're
perceived.
feeling there's a
It's not.
reason that now you don't want people coming to the meetings after what happened
Can I
last.
say one thing? It is posted on the village website,
No, I know,
the official, right?
And the meetings have been the same for
Forever.
30 years.
I understand.
Yeah.
It's not,
I'm just telling you what I'm seeing
No, I
and hearing.
hear you. And if you look at the thread, a lot of them are not residents of the village of Washington.
Most of them are
The other
not.
part is also
Thank
when
you.
people call the village, they're like, and when you tell them it's on Facebook, because that's the first thing we were telling people, it's on Facebook. Well, I don't have Facebook, is the response. So now, when the secretary responds to the question, it's on the website. You can't say, I don't have a website.
I don't have a computer.
You know, so it was getting to the point
Right.
where, you know, if you were
Well,
on
I think in
Facebook,
one
you
place.
liked it, but if
Well,
you weren't
no,
on
I
Facebook,
mean,
you
it
felt like you
wasn't
were not
a
getting the answer you
replacement
wanted.
for, it was just an addition. I know you're not legally bound to having to do that, it was,
no. And
I-
it
it
wasn't
was a
anything
courtesy.
malicious or underhanded
No.
or,
Perception is 95% of
Right.
Although your
reality.
website,
The other 50% is actually what's happening.
your website still does say the Orange County Post is your official newspaper.
It's coming back.
No, it's not
It
coming
has to be
back as
changed.
it posts though.
It has to be changed to, well, the Times Herald Record is the only one.
Yeah, but I'm just saying your website is not reflective of that.
I'll,
Thank you.
I'll contact the IT
I don't know if these guys got something else to say.
We are open to constructive criticism,
what?
We just hung the whole meeting.
you know? With just, you know, I don't think we need to have our character attacked, but we are open to constructive criticism. I think every meeting you're constructive.
And, you know, if I could speak, I think, and it took me a long while to learn how the system works. And I think a lot of these people who come to these meetings when they're inflamed, don't understand the process. Years ago, there was a board, I forget which board it was, used to do a brief introduction to people when they moved here on how the different boards function and how they can partake as the audience. Like knowing when there's a work session, where you can't comment in a work session, there's no public comment. You know, what does a planning board do? What does the ZBA do? When is it appropriate for the public to speak? And when is it time for the public to just listen? I think if people had a better understanding of the functionality, it would make it a lot easier.
It's a quick Google search away. They can look up everything else and find out who did what, 19 whatever, they can Google search, you know what I mean?
I understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying if the village reaches out to new residents, because y'all get those TP 584s when they come in, and you know the taxes have changed. You're sending off a welcome letter anyway,
What is it, TP?
TP 584, or is it the 5217 you guys get, the notice of tax, of ownership change for tax purposes?
It goes to the town.
But, and who notifies you when there's been a change of residency?
Well, like I say, it goes to the town.
The village
That's all you're
gets,
getting out of me.
How do you know, how does the village know to tax the people?
yeah, how do you know how to change your tax bills?
I get a tax bill from you guys every year.
We get village.
Because we get it from the
to.
town.
We get it from the
Oh,
town.
so that comes through the town also?
Oh.
But so that should be coming past somebody if you're getting it from the
We get that list
assessor.
along with the fishing and hunting license.
What?
That was one of my questions.
I
Can I
I
buy
can't
one?
hear you.
I could ask Christine, the village clerk.
Oh,
I'm
So,
sure she knows.
I'm just saying, a letter can go out to a new resident saying, you know, we could love to explain to you how it works here. Most don't, especially if they're coming up from the boroughs.
When you say new resident, is that because they bought? Like, what about the renting?
Well, rentals are supposed to go into a registry anyway.
We're supposed to.
Supposed to, yeah. So that's a different story, and I would think it's, if somebody's gonna come before this board, they would have to be a property owner contributing taxes. A tenant isn't necessarily doing that.
How many tax bills have you returned?
It's like somebody from the town coming in and speaking, it's nice to hear your opinion, but you're not paying the salaries.
But even if they
We've got
let
tax
go,
bills that
this
came-
stuff
that
still
were-
impacts them with traffic.
We've got tax bills that were returned because the address and the name no longer lived here. So this is the information we're getting from the outside source.
Again, Google is your friend.
No.
There you
You
go.
know, we would
It's
love
okay
to
for us to
have
Google half of the town, I see how it works.
all real estate posters.
One-way Google.
Right, well, you've had the past discussion about having to have a document as part of the closing packet that it would come directly to this village. I don't know if it's been acted on or not, but when a property closes at an attorney's office, I know Corinne had said that the closing should have to take here if it's, a village property. You can't do that, because that's a private
No,
transaction.
It's a great idea, but I don't think.
But the title companies can be made to enforce a form as part of the transfer package that notifies the village of a change in resident ownership. It gets done in Warwick because they have to collect that welcome to Warwick and screw you tax, preservation tax. So they're notified, different entities are notified. There's no reason that you can't have as part of your title transfer when they do a municipal search, because it's part of a title transfer, is a municipal search, that this form must get submitted to the Village of Washingtonville upon title completion, and the title companies would be responsible for that.
Do you have time this week or next week to come in and,
My son's getting married 4th of July. Can we wait till after that?
Congratulations.
well, there's gonna be fireworks on the 1st.
Right, is he married on the 4th?
Yes,
That is my wedding anniversary as well. I
Right.
promised fireworks
Right.
again.
4th of July.
I do.
Right over Roundhill House.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, the next week,
So you know how to find me.
since 1733.
You have my
One.
email,
We
you
can
know
wait
how to find
another
me.
week.
Give me a
Yes.
couple of dates and I will make room on my calendar.
And, getting back to residents, it's much easier to call or email one of us, rather than going on being a warrior on Facebook. You follow me? Call up and whatever questions you have, if we don't have the answer, we'll find the answer and get it back
We'll
to you.
admit we don't have the answer, we get it.
We don't know everything. I know you look at me like I know everything, but that's not true.
Joe, how many years have I known you?
And that's
32?
At least 32, could be
3?
30.
You gotta use the reference I do, when kids were in elementary school.
So really, that's what, and we've always pushed for that. All right, email, stop in, write a note, they're gonna be answered. All right. Every time we make a decision up here, it's for the benefit of the village residents, Village of Washington. Every decision we make, people might not agree with those decisions, but we're doing it for the residents of the Village of Washington. And only the Village of Washington.
That wasn't the case back in 19. And I know everything's different now, I get it. But that was scary, to see that can happen here in the small village, and nobody would have even known.
I don't think the Village of Washingtonville really knew what hit them when all these homes were built. It used to be a farm community, and,
It was.
all of a sudden we have the people moving up from New Jersey, the city, so forth.
Well, the other part of this is these are voluntary boards. Personal opinion, I don't think anybody belongs on a single board for 30 years. You go in, you do your 2 or 4 years, you've served your community, time to go, let somebody else move in. And we had a planning board 40 years.
Well, we put out advertisements for both boards.
Are there any requirements to be a member other than,
A resident, and I think you want a good variety of.
You have to take a 4-hour
Like a school
training.
board. Yeah, there's no requirements for a school board, right? I don't believe there is.
but for village planning zoning?
There's a 4-hour training that the state requires.
So how, so somebody become a member of like the zoning board and not have any knowledge about anything to do with zoning?
Well, well, because they're residents,
Right.
they know what they
And it's
want.
definitely a learning process, and the attorneys are, I have to say, they're really great and walk everybody through the whole process, which helps, and you learn as you go. But there's plenty of, Larissa always has a membership with NICOM so that they can get on and look at all the,
Trainings.
trainings and various
Workshops,
information.
seminars.
And there are experienced members and non-experienced, and they can,
Partner up.
yeah.
Could be a parent too.
Now everything is with consultants. They have the attorney who interprets the law for them. They have an engineer on call.
And there wasn't, there was just the attorney the other night, there was no engineer, because it was just gathering information.
Right, but that wasn't our engineer, that was their engineer.
It was their engineer, but our planning board engineer too, John Petrosini, he's at planning board meetings. He's a zoning and planning board engineer.
Well, and it's easier now too. I mean, it's recorded, right, so anybody can.
All our meetings are
Right,
recorded.
but back then, it was minutes, so if you want to research
No, we
it,
still have minutes still, because.
yeah, that was
They
the
have
only
to,
way.
yeah.
And I had to sit at my dining room table when my kids were asleep and read through every planning board meeting to see what was going on, to go back. There was no video
That
or
didn't
internet or any
Well,
of
if you
that.
watch
the
these
meetings
videos,
without-
You might fall asleep.
You might fall asleep before the end of the pledge, but that's,
So, but
we've
state
come a
law
long way.
is very specific. If there's any more than 3 of them in a room, they have to have the public there. And some of the old school, because I caught somebody
and
meeting with
also-
somebody.
They were getting away with decisions being made without legal there, and I know that would not happen now,
It's not going to happen.
right?
Sean Hagerty, 4 Belvoir Drive. I have a couple of questions. One is, are you now selling fishing licenses?
Yeah, that is it, wait, no fishing?
I
Where,
always fish, but mine's out.
Do you really?
Yeah,
where do you fish?
Canada, upstate, anywhere.
I'm thinking here.
Not at the ponds because there's no place to fish.
I know when, after the meeting that we had with the town, that night here, I contacted the village clerk of Walton, and they give out hunting and fishing licenses.
Yeah, a few villages, so I go to the Windsor sometimes to get it.
It was never offered in this village. I don't know why, but we will be doing it, but as of yet, we have not, so.
Yeah, Chester used to do it too.
Second one is, did you ask the dog that he helped find, there was a gentleman that was missing, a child was missing recently? Did they bring the dog to help with that?
They bought the dog was part of the search.
Good.
State police had their dog, helicopters involved, sheriff's department had drones involved.
I was here at the time, I actually tried to go
It was-
over,
it
and
was a
somebody
community
said,
effort.
go home and monitor it. I was wondering how was I supposed to do that?
Go home and monitor.
The search, I came over to help the search. Somebody from,
I didn't ask anyone if I could help.
I didn't see it, yeah, I think.
well, I went to go
I think
through the
people-
park.
Residents told me to go home.
Oh,
I'm-
no.
I just kept looking. I-
But that's
Yeah.
neither here nor there.
It was quite a effort from everyone.
Yeah.
I did, I went around, there was people all over the place, well,
An
the
old
woods and
police
everything.
chief, Gary Hearn,
No, in the car.
had actually called, I guess it would be Metro North, to stop the
New Jersey
trains, New Jersey Transit, to stop the trains because he could be walking on the tracks,
Right.
so, which he was.
Yeah.
And the other thing is over in High Grove also. Has that been dedicated, just past the baseball field and all, is that all, those roads dedicated in High Grove?
No,
Is Spindler supposed to, not Spindler, Rieger supposed to be maintaining those spillways or the catch basins? There's 2 of them there.
I don't, have they been dedicated to the village?
Just saying no.
Okay.
Because at the carriage houses, that's done by their maintenance crew that does all their lawns, they
Okay.
get the garbage out, they keep them clean so they can fill with water instead of being filled with trees. And if you go over there and look in, a lot of stuff is growing in there already. So it's gonna be filled with fauna instead of water. And it's only to catch the water and go, but it's still,
I know they wanted to dedicate, they wanted the village to take over 2 roads, I believe it was, 1 road. John Petrosini, again, the village engineer for that, and along with Chris Martino, came up with a punch list which still has not been fixed. So therefore, the village is not taking over the.
Even those basins I'm talking about should be maintained in perpetuity by the development, just as you guys maintain yours. The carriage houses over here maintain them.
They haven't been maintaining them?
There's nobody caught, it's just
12 hours.
Okay.
tall grass. So that should be in some kind of HOA or whatever they got. If they even have it.
I don't know if there's an HOA up there.
There's no
I'm not
HOA.
sure.
They may not, but that's to
But I will
benefit
mention
their
that
houses,
too.
and that was put there to allow them to build, so it shouldn't fall on us to maintain something that,
No, right. I will mention it to John Terry, our code enforcer, on Thursday. Today's Tuesday. He will be in tomorrow, he'll be in on Thursday.
all right.
I will make mention of him tomorrow.
That's it for me, no fishing, no hunting, no license.
The worm on the hook.
No, phony lures, those things are dirty.
That's what I'm asking you, I'm going fishing with you, if you don't handle the worms.
I went fishing several times, it's not for me. Things, creatures come out of the water,
You're supposed to.
not for me. And you gotta put like little snakes on the hook,
You're not gonna survive in that.
No, I won't.
No.
I'll bring my can of tuna fish, I'll be good.
That'll last you long.
Anybody else?
Any plans for paving in the village?
Paving.
Paving.
The roads,
Yes.
Woodfield's a mess, especially after the bowl and all the
We
detouring.
will be paving the areas that were affected by
Not the whole
the
development?
sewer relocation.
No?
I can't promise you that, so I'm not. We're looking at Ahern. Ahern needs to be paved. Emerson needs to be in Seaport. Emerson's going to be receiving all new drainage. Paving will go along with that. Seaport, because of the detour, that took a beat, that road, so that needs to be paved.
Will they fill on Woodfield? Holes?
Potholes?
Well, I don't even know if you can call them
It
potholes,
cracks.
but more than cracks.
Yeah,
I mean, like even by my driveway, there's a big chunk that's just missing.
Fissures.
We could make mention of that. But the whole development,
No.
asphalt, I don't even know what asphalt is going for because of the fuel prices. You know, because of food, fuel prices. But something has to be done with the roads that we just mentioned. Ahern, we looked at North Street possibly, but that might be put off till next year too. I wish the whole village could be